This is Potatoes Gang, and you're welcome. We are looking at Nigeria's political process, the role of Godfathers in this process. Since the inception of democracy in Nigeria, some people have constituted themselves as godfathers, dictating who becomes what in Nigeria politics, who takes what, and it's like our common patrimony have been decided by a certain group of people. And we're looking at, for how long do we still have godfathers in the Nigerian political process? Gentlemen.
If we take godfathers to be mentors, positive enablers, people who have distinguished themselves in industry, community service, various philanthropies, and they are out there and they are giants, and they are now able to put people on their shoulders to learn from their experience. Yes, positive. It will always be there. Yes, it must always be there. But the problem
even from the religious perspective, in my church, Godfather is a good thing. Your godparents.
The godfathers that we have, I'm sure we are talking about, are the types of negatives. I mean, they've been with us from eon years. If you go to Kwara State, for instance, we had Baba Oloye, who was a godfather, and whatever he said,
Saraki
Senior, call him Baba Oloye, and whatever he said, and then even if you put a dog down, that will be the dog that will be, voted for. In Oyo State, we had Lamidi Adedibu and his Amala politics. Everybody went there on Friday. Virtually everybody went there on Friday, and they were sure they were going to.
I think it was Busari Adelekon before Lamida Penkelemes.
Before
who trained Lamida Adedibu?
I think in the immediate modern, we had the likes of the Jagabands, who called the shots in Lagos.
Is he only in Lagos or even outside Lagos?
Lagos and South. Well, his base is Lagos, and then of course to the southwest
and Midwest.
And it's going and it's still going strong. So if you look at this vis-a-vis the value that we have been able to gain from this latter set of godfathers, I dare say it has been a step forward, maybe 3 steps backwards, and a lot can still be done to change things around, take our fortunes in our hands, and make sure that we get the dividend of democracy out to the people out there. Yeah.
So the question, generally speaking, the moment you hear the word Godfather,
it connotes a negative.
It connotes a negative
feeling.
And that shouldn't be so. We need to go back to the basics to understand the evolution of the political parties. When parties were formed, there are founders. And these founders grow up into establishing a caucus of the party or having preferred candidates that they've lured or invited
or groomed
to come and fill political offices. I think that was the starting point. But along the line, when the dividend of party loyalty started to rear its face, the color changed and became negative. I will take a look, for example, Second Republic, when we had the National Party of Nigeria, NPN. NPN really had no clear structure before the election. But the moment Alhaji Shehu Shagari won the presidential election, the party came into being in full force. And in the absence of party structure, what evolved was a caucus of the party. People were picked from different parts of the country to constitute the caucus of the party. And that caucus gave direction to the party at its very formative stages in government. Seeing the beauty and the benefits that can flow from being a member of the caucus refused to diffuse after the cabinet was constituted. We had instances where the ESCO would take decisions, and in the middle of the night, the caucus would meet and overturn the decision of the Federal Executive Council. We've had instances reported of the security apparatus of the country informing the presidency of impending danger to the democratic structure. and the caucus will wish it away until the 1983 purge came, and then people started talking. We advised the president that this coup was coming, but the caucus of the party ignored it. These were people that are faceless, amorphous in nature. They have no constitutional authority. They didn't swear to any oath of office. So you can't try them for abuse of office, hijacking power. And I think it's from that point in time, Second Republic, that the Godfatherism got fully entrenched. And some people saw it as a way out. Instead of contesting election, warm yourself into the caucus of the party,
into the inner cabinet,
party,
inner kitchen cabinet,
and become a godfather. But ordinarily there shouldn't be anything bad if you're part of those who form the party and you have more than a fair say in the way and manner the affairs of the party are conducted.
Rashid, thank you very much for laying that foundation. There's some good aspects of, there's some positives being a godfather. For instance, Charles calls me a godfather too in politics, because I have to set up SDP in a place, groom some people. But the challenge that this godfatherism, godfathers have, is when they will start, grooming the job. Major job is to groom people, make sure that, the right people are in place and, to satisfy the common good. But sometimes they go into the selfish interest overweigh.
That's what is playing out.
Overweigh, right from independence.
That's what is playing out.
Right from independence.
We don't even need to go far too back. Let's just deal with what we are faced with now, because with what we are faced, we have seen the consequences, negative as they are, and what stares us in the face is, what then do we need to do? Because we've seen what it has done to our political process. We have talked about how our politics affects our economy. So the consequences stare us in the face, and we know what we're going to face in no distant time if nothing happens. Comes back to our political process recruitment, the way our political parties are structured. Parties that have no ideologies, just an agglomeration of people who are seeking power. We saw it in 2014, emergence of a party that won power. And what have they done with it? Just building cliques and cliques. So what do? It's about the people now saying, open up this. It's about opening up the electoral process. In fact, that's what all of these boil down to. How do we create a mass movement of people? Because the people who are on fire, nothing can stop them. No force on earth can stop them.
Mass mobilization.
Who are on fire. So how do we open up the electoral process?
Mass
to curb
mobilization.
The excesses
Exactly.
of this Godfather? Because they have held the political process and governance captive.
And they are not
they
about...
decide who comes in.
And they are not about wanting to let it out
Nobody
easily.
lets go.
So my point is that it has to be a mass mobilization. It has to be all-inclusive, open up the space. And I think very critically, the middle class and the elites must not continue to sit back and expect the dividends to just come to them the way it is. Oh, I don't want to touch politics, so I don't want to participate, I don't want to get into debates, I don't want to rough it in it out and stuff like that. It has to stop.
During the Pronaco days, we were all in the trenches. Kudirat group and, Abraham Adesanya, may their souls rest in peace. But at the end, the biggest regret, personally, and I know some other people who joined this movement during the before the 1999 thing. The only regret was when we achieved, we succeeded in enthroning democracy, rather than participate in the process, we sat back.
I left it to the carpetbaggers.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
They took the risk, used the whole thing, grabbed power, use that power to acquire economic wealth, and then they have put a lead on that political distance, and they're sitting on the lead, that nobody comes in, rather, even when you go out, unless death do you part.
Austin.
before you go this. That was the biggest mistake. And it's difficult for us now to reciprocate. How many of us have money?
It's
The
not,
kind of
it's
money
not,
that
it's
they
not,
have.
Austin is not too difficult. You see, fundamental to the management of political parties is funding. Finance is the oxygen or elixir that keeps parties functioning. If you want to moderate the influence of Godfathers, the first major steps that political parties have to take is to create an independent funding source by ensuring that every member that joins the party pays his annual subscription. For example, in the 2015 elections, from the data we have from INEC, 56 million voters' cards were issued, which implied these were active voters that had showed interest that I want to vote at the next election, so I go forward and collect my PVC.
It's grown to 78 now.
I got my PVC. If annually each member had paid just 1,000 naira, which comes to less than 100 naira per month, 56 billion naira would have been raised, would have been shared among the political parties. Although in the actual election, in 2015, we recorded only 29 point something million voters, which would have given about 29 billion naira. This would have provided the direct funding for the parties for election, rather than wanting to raise money through election. What obtains today is that the Godfathers are the backbone of the political parties. Election is coming, they bring forward 2 billion naira. And this understanding shows us that he who has finance has the final say. If you put down the money, you definitely people have to listen to you. Because the parties don't have financial resources to manage their affairs. So they rely on just a handful of people who fund them. And these funders hijack the system.
Because they
You can't about
do you
funding.
know, do you
Can
know,
also even step it back and make it a law?
Yeah.
And just like it is, for instance, in developed economies like the United States, it creates step-by-step guidance to how funds should be remitted to parties and report on how funds are used. So that way, parties are opened up and they can now go back to the people and say, it is your battle, contribute to electioneering campaign. Because the moment you make people become more conscious, as we have made them to get their PVCs, about donating to causes, then you reduce the influences
Of the Godfathers.
of Godfathers.
Unfortunately,
So funding is also...
Unfortunately, I mean, in the direction that you just mentioned, the Electoral Act
That's the idea.
2010 began to recognize some of these things, especially in terms of funds that are given to parties, how they should be accounted for, usually observed in breaches. But I think it should, like you said, should go a little bit further to compel political parties to begin to generate funds on their own. The problem with that is that the quote-unquote Godfathers will do virtually everything within the parties to try and block that, because why they want a prebendal kind of situation,
Yeah.
and so make you poor and then continue to look out to them. And
That's why
the
there
reason
has to be legal provision in the electoral process for that.
Now, I am saying we begin as citizens to mobilize ourselves to say no. There must be a way to push back on some of these obnoxious conventions that we found with us. Let me also quickly say, and you started by making an inference to the fact that Godfathers and we have Godfathers from the religious angle.
Yeah,
They
I can
dictate-
just hold it there, the Godfathers and religious angle.
Yeah.
Let's go to the streets and then speak to our people out there and hear their views on this discussion that we're having here. When we return, we'll come straight to you. Don't go away, you're still watching Patito's Gang. Let's go to the streets.
When the government is saying that way, it will be reduced. We don't want people that are just striving to get there.
As long as there's a political elite in Nigeria, there would always be Godfatherism. So, but all we can work towards is mitigating the effects of Godfatherism. So this would work by educating the voting populace. In Kwara State, for example, Saraki is supposed to be the political godfather in that state. He has this political structure on lockdown. But you notice that when he cross-carpeted from APC to PDP, the PDP state executives resigned their positions instead of allowing him hijack the structure with them as accomplices. So moving forward, I think it's a good step for our democracy. We'll see less of effective Godfatherism. That means Godfatherism producing or foisted candidates on the populace. So I think moving forward, we should see less of their effects in Nigeria.
Welcome back. You're still watching Patitos Gang. Just before we went to the street, we were talking about Godfathers and the role they play, positive and negative, and how we should, move the political process, forward. Yes, Akin, you were saying about the Godfathers and the religious circle.
Trying to make the point that yes, money is one, blind faith. Our religious leaders have a way of influencing their followers, and those followers will just want to follow them blindly, come rain, shine or sun. We must, as a people, begin to question some of the faith, some of the doctrines, I dare say, some of the doctrines that come from that angle. And I also believe strictly that still talking about the rule of law, that aspect, vis-a-vis getting into politics, should be regulated in terms of some enabling laws that says there are certain things you should do, certain things you should not do. I mean, if you belong, say, for instance, to a particular faith, somebody will come up with that slogan that says, the other party is from the other faith, and so you better just give your block vote. And that's always been with us. We must find a way to step that down. Again, the middle class has a way to get into it, reorientate, unlearn things that people have learned over the period, relearn, and then make sure that you put in the right things in terms of education to get people to do the...
In terms of new orientation, I agree with you, because right now, the voters themselves, they see politics as a way of making money for themselves. They see you rather than contribute. Even in my neighboring state, when we set up a SDP there, we ask people to contribute just 100 naira. They say they're coming to the party to take, and not to, we're not asking them to. And that's the kind of thing we need to change, that new reorientation, for them to know that is something that their civic responsibility is to contribute one way or the other, their time, their money, into the political process. But the issue of volunteerism should be encouraged more. We don't have such. People want you to even give them for volunteering, and it's for their own future. So that's the challenge, and that new orientation that we must imbibe in our voters. And I don't know how we're going to do it, but I believe that not only by making laws, but I believe there are some ways, maybe, pushing it out, individuals taking it upon themselves to educate within your own circle of influence.
I think the issue of compensatory politics has to be edited. It's a virus that has to be edited out of our political system.
Delete.
Yeah, completely. People go into politics purely for compensation. Mm-hmm. If I join party A and Mr. B wins, this is what I get. If I'm not going to get anything, then I'm out of the system. I think compensatory politics has to go. Service to the people, to the community, selfless service. Mm-hmm. And that's why we say leadership is other people centered. Mm-hmm. You come into leadership because you want to serve others. Mm-hmm. If you do that and people see you do it and run it through properly, then they're likely to follow your route.
No, but you see, in a society like ours where things are not working very well, the financial or economic market, the labor market has shut out a whole lot of people. So politics has become a fallback for everybody who has been shut out of mainstream means of employment. Mm-hmm. So that will not work in the immediate to short term, because for as long as they can see there is no job for me to get from the economic market, I can't stay idle. Here is politics. It's a free-for-all game. It's about how rough you are. It's about how subservient you are. It's about how you acquiesce to that Godfather who you have recognized is the one who calls the shots in your locales, because all politics is local. So that will continue to be. But we are saying that the bigger picture is opening up the democratic process so that the middle class is always the most complacent. Why? These are people who have means of livelihood.
And they're the ones that determine the direction the country should be going.
Ideally. But what happens is, the reason why they are more complacent is, I have food, I have shelter, my children are in good schools. Why do I have to go and rock the boat? Let me just take care of my family and my immediate needs. You guys deal with your politics.
Forgetting that the outside politics will come and hunt you.
It's for those who are involved, and the civil society, and the media, and everyone who has a role to play, to just ensure that we put pressure on the system so that this space is open.
I can't agree any less with you. And the orientation is such that, even like Rashid said, the immediate gain may not be here for you today, perhaps tomorrow. The orientation is to begin to let people know that what you are doing is for your children and your children unborn. And then those legacies...
The question is, do they care about the children? Do they care about the welfare? Because the notion is, look, when the children reach their own, they'll pay their own price to do their own thing. At least they're thinking of these people.
That is the poor orientation, and it has to change.
The way the message is sold.
Yeah.
That's what you call delayed gratification. If you serve community and you serve very well,
your name can be ingrained in gold.
Your children are going to draw benefit from it.
Yeah, but again, let me just mention this. If you remember Professor Batotome's book on Why Nations Are Poor, the prologue to that book, he painted a scenario of the middle class who thinks that since he has a big house, builds a big wall, lives in incarceration, drives a big car, that immediate environment is cool. But he drives out of the gates.
And he becomes kidnapped.
Poverty is
staring
him on the face, and he cannot escape those things. The elite
cannot enjoy his wealth.
He cannot enjoy it. So that's what the political elite, what they fail to understand.
So that is the orientation that you're talking about.
For now, they may think that, I'm comfortable, I'm done. There's no need, whatever happens, it's your business. But they know, they fail to understand that one day, the masses may rise up.
Whoever is ensconced in those kinds of comforts don't make changes by themselves. Forces stronger than them will make them to change. So if you expect the Godfathers to think about abdicating what they have, then we are mistaken. We are talking to the people who are being oppressed. We are talking to those of us who are on the receiving end. We are talking to the civil society. We are talking to the conscience of the nation. That they are the ones who have to arise, as it were, and see that, look, there is danger waiting for each and every one of us. And if we don't rise up to the occasion of, because it's all about what we're just saying, it comes down to open up the political space.
Exactly.
Now, how do you open the political space?
Open the political space.
Now,
one of the areas,
policies, through,
having one major thing, having independent candidacy.
All of that.
There are so many ways that
local
can be
government autonomy, whatever it is.
Well, the point is made. We have to go. And Godfatherism, even though we look at it in a negative thing, but we should use it more positively to groom future leaders. And also, the middle class should wake up, from their slumber and to their responsibility, because the middle class in every society gives direction to where the economy of that society and where the politics of that society should go. And still join the conversation in all the social media handles as you see it on your screen. And join us, let the debate continue. This is Potatoes Gang. Join us next time.